Hello and welcome to Queen of Spades Garden Care. I'm Anna and here is where I share tips and tricks on what to do in the garden. And today we're looking at late autumn.
Now's the last chance to get bulbs into the ground. Here I'm planting some lovely Grape, Hyacinth and Daffodil bulbs. First, I take a look at where they're going to be and double check on the back of the packet the right depth and spacing they need. Then I place them around the border to where I want them spaced in the spring and get digging. I've used my trowel as a rough guide for how deep I want the bulbs. If you don't know how deep your bulbs should go, the rule of thumb is that they need to be planted 1.5 times their height deep. But double check online if you can. Once planted, I then cover them up and continue with the rest of the bed. If perennials have either died or become too straggly, they can be cut right back, as was done with this whole bed. These sedums were showing new growth at the base of the plants, so I also cut this year's growth to a couple inches from the ground. One advantage of cutting back perennials is that dying growth won't rot and be a risk to plant health. However, it can be quite nice to leave seed heads for some architectural structure in winter, and of course as food for the birds. It's up to personal preference what you do. I carried on cutting back with this hardy geranium. They really do get out of control if left to spread. I also cut back some penstemons which had been hidden by the massive geranium foliage. You can see just how much it thrives by the patch of lawn that wasn't able to grow there. I then moved on to reducing the height of these roses, as they were getting a bit too tall in this bed. Make sure when pruning roses that you cut back to a bud, ideally one that's pointing in the direction you want the plant to grow. It's also a good idea to reduce the height of shrub roses in general, as winter winds can rock the plant and cause damage to the roots. Dogwood comes into its own at this time of year, with the beautiful red stems that are shown when the leaves have fallen. However, only new growth is the fiery red you see here, so it's a good idea to cut back old growth which is beginning to lose its colour to ensure new colourful growth next year. Fruit bushes also respond well to this kind of pruning. These gooseberry and blackcurrant bushes needed reducing. Not only does this promote new branches, but especially in the case of the gooseberry, it allows air to circulate and prevent mildew. Just remember to double check whether your shrubs produce fruit on old or new wood. That might dictate just how much you want to cut them back. When I was doing some rose pruning, I saved some of the material to produce cuttings. However, as wet weather and frost looms, I want to protect them a little bit by placing them in the shade of this ceanothus by the house. A cold frame or cloche might be a better alternative if you have them. Mediterranean herbs also need protecting, so I took my time inside and popped it on a bright windowsill. Ponds do need clearing and thinning out. This water iris is especially good at spreading, so I took out some of the rhizomes as well as its dead leaves. I also took out other dead leaves and duckweed as needed, but importantly, I put all the waste on the side of the pond for at least a day so any creepy crawlies can get back into the water if they got caught. Now to the other pond. This one has fewer plants in it, but falling leaves still need to be taken out. Before the ground gets too cold to work, it's a good time to put hedges in. They can then establish through the winter. Double check how high and wide each plant will get to have an idea of how far apart they need to be spaced. I planted these laurel saplings about 3 feet apart. If you want a hedge wider than 3 feet, you could put them in a zigzag pattern to ensure bushier growth. Finally, it's a good idea to give tools and pots a wash. I decided to rinse all my muddy tools in a bowl first, so I didn't clog up the drain. I then used this water on the beds in order not to waste it. Then it was time to wash with some disinfectant. Just like how we keep clean to stay hygienic, keeping garden tools clean helps to stop plant diseases spreading around the garden, and in my case, between my clients' gardens. After cleaning up, put them somewhere warm to dry off. Remember to use oil if needed to prevent rust, especially on moving parts, and also to not worry about getting messy yourself.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.